What's going on, people, and welcome to a brand new episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time. Now remember, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like up the thing and hit that subscribe. Now in Too Many Games and Not Enough Time, I get to talk to some wonderful people across the globe, gamers, about what games they're playing now they're in lockdown, because our number one complaint is no time to play all of these games. And we got some more time on our hands. Now, on today's show, I've got someone who's extra special. She is a esports gaming presenter. She is a collector of Jourdens, which rhymes with her name. She's a Twitch streamer, a YouTuber. You can see her hosting Gears of 5 like she's killing the game. The one and only Jourden Kel in the show. Welcome to Too Many Games. How are you doing today?
Listen, after that introduction, you cannot complain. Literally, thank you. I'm extremely honored. Thank you so much for gassing me up like that. I'm excited. I'm so excited. Thank you.
That is dope. 2020 has been a really weird year. The world's in a whole lot of crisis. Can't even get my words out today. How have you been coping, man? How's 2020 been for you? Because you're quite similar to me compared to a lot of people that I speak to. Is you're actually a presenter at live events, so you do like esports events, TV stuff as well, just like me. So you're actively out there, and because of COVID, you can't be at events. So how's it been for you?
Yes. So first of all, 2020 has been insane. I do live at home, so me and my mom have gotten extremely close just in terms of family
That's dope.
Stuff. So that's been great, spending a lot of time with the dog because I'm not traveling as much. My full-time work with the Mavs, it's really been, it's basically been business as usual. The NBA 2K League has not stopped. There was a sort of break for 2 months, but everything sort of picked back up once the season was rolling. So I just work from home daily, doing the social media for Mavs GG and stuff like that. So web, all that stuff is still rolling. But in terms of the presenting aspect, it's been different. Obviously, like, I stream as well, so I have the equipment. I've actually worked more events this year than I have in last year, which is kind of crazy. I guess everybody's doing everything virtually. So I've been very blessed in that aspect. But it's definitely been an adjustment, not being able. I have asthma too, so I'm really scared of this virus.
Oh, you gotta be careful, man.
Oh my gosh, it has been an adjustment for me for sure, and but it's been exciting to get to know myself and become more self-aware. What kind of bothers me, what my weaknesses are, what some of my strengths are, and things like that. So just a lot of self-reflection during this time.
That's amazing. So, all right, cool. Let's gas it up straight away. You've got your PlayStation 5. Next gen is here. You're working from home. Yes, you're super busy, but you've got a little bit more time on your hand. What have you been playing on the PS5, and how much are you loving it? How much are you loving it, and what you've been playing on it?
Okay, so I beat SpiderMan, Miles Morales. Loved that game. I didn't play the first one, so I do have to go back and get that one now. But I really, really enjoyed that game. That has been like, that was like, literally, it was so refreshing. First of all, just seeing, the swag is so different for Miles Morales than any other Spider-Man. And again, like I said, I didn't play the first one. But I've also played some 2K21. I probably haven't spent as much time on that as I should have. I got Call of Duty yesterday. Basically played that all day. I'm gonna probably jump into some zombies. So I've definitely been picking up some games. I've also I got Ghost of Tsushima, but again, I didn't have a PS4. I had an Xbox. So this would be my first time ever on PlayStation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. All right, so cool. Let's break some of them down. So Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man on PS4 was incredible, but Miles Morales is just a whole nother level. And like you said, Miles has just got so much swag and so much characterism. Did you play any of the Arkham games?
I did not. I didn't. So I'm really new to all of this. I think I might have played a Batman game back on like Xbox, not Xbox
360?
One. Yeah, 360. I think I did, but I can't recall.
So that fighting mechanics from Spider-Man, it all comes from Arkham. Like Batman created that fighting mechanics and loads of games use it, but Spider-Man's just taking it to a whole nother level. And because Miles Morales as Spider-Man has got different powers from Peter Parker, the whole disappearing and the venom, the electricity, that's just in this one because Miles has those powers and Peter doesn't. But he's just got so much swag and charisma, and you can tell Insomniac really loved that game because the detail they put in, like him being black Latino, like Afro Latino, and really getting into his culture, like it so touching. But you're so about this 2K life, like you're about this 2K life. How is it looking on the PS5? Because I'm hearing that the way they've upgraded it is something special.
Yeah, something special to say the least. So honestly, I haven't spent as much time on it. Like I said, I spent quite a bit of time on the current gen version. For next gen, I have dived into the WNBA mode, which is sort of a new mode in the game. I really love that one. So I scanned my face in. I had never done that before. A lot of the people who follow me said it looked just like me. I didn't see it. Okay, of course.
I've seen some of these face scans, and some of them are atrocious.
Oh my gosh, exactly. That's how I felt about mine. So I was like, okay, this doesn't look like me, but everybody said it does. But as far as the city, it's definitely been some mixed reviews. I've seen some people have enjoyed it. Of course, they've spent hours on the game, but for people who, like myself, I have a full-time job, I can't spend like all day on the game like I want to. It's been a lot more of a challenge because you have to grind your build and then you have to put VC into it, and it's like, okay, I bought the game, I have to spend money and do all this stuff. So it's like, it's definitely a challenge. Usually they kind of dial back on how hard you have to grind like in a couple months, so yeah, maybe like, you know, next month I expect them to do another patch and make it a little bit simpler for those of us who don't have hours on hours to grind.
So what's really interesting, you saying this is your first Sony console, you had an Xbox previously, so my next question from Too Many Games is always like, now what games from your backlog do you want to play? And obviously the PlayStation 4 had some of the most incredible libraries. So you mentioned Ghost of Tsushima, which it's just a masterpiece. It's almost like, it's funny because, and I say this to a lot of people, and it's not even in an offensive way, but it's almost like one of the best Assassin's Creeds ever made because it's very kind of Assassin's Creed-esque. But yeah, it's a really great game. So what games are you super excited to go back and try from the PlayStation's library that you didn't get to experience?
Yeah, so God of War, I want to play that. You know, I'm a Gears of War girl, like you mentioned in the intro. So now I'm going to the other side of war, you know, so I'm like, okay, I gotta play that. But the
God of War is the greatest.
It's the greatest?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna quote you on that one.
It is the greatest. When you do your review on your YouTube, you have to quote Mr. Midas said, it's the greatest.
The greatest. Okay. Heard you. So that one, of course, SpiderMan, like I said. I can't think of a lot off the top of my head, but those are the main two that I'm really looking forward to.
So ones that I would always say that you should try is the Uncharted series, because they do the best kind of action. So the reboot of Tomb Raider has basically been ripped from Uncharted games. So that's really good for action. The Last of Us, that is one of the most greatest narrative ever done in a game. And you're going to cry your eyes out on Ball and be like, Midas, why did you tell me to play this? This is too emotional.
And you know, I'm a crybaby. I cried in SpiderMan, okay? No spoilers, but I did cry.
You cried in SpiderMan. You're like, whew, I don't even know how you're going to react to The Last of Us. So yeah, those are some of the exclusives that you definitely have to. And Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn is definitely one that you should check out. It's very kind of Native American based, but it's a mix between robot animals and robot dinosaurs in that kind of It's basically post-apocalypse. So sick. So those are some ones on your bat list that you have to try. Like, I'm telling you got to play them. So what's really interesting is I've been a PlayStation guy my whole life. Like, Sony guy, grew up a Sega kid. Then I got into Nintendo, then Sony, and then I've always flown the flag for Sony. And I was lucky enough to actually get gifted a Xbox Series S from Microsoft, and I've never really jumped in. And the one game I've always wanted to play is Gears. So I've started Gears 5 and I'm loving it, like the cover-based shooter. But give me some tips in terms of Gears, and if I started at the right place or if I should have started at the beginning.
I think it's fine. So it's sort of with Gears, they have it. Well, maybe you could have played Gears 4 just to get the background on Kat and, you know, her life and things like that, and why she's doing what she's doing now in Gears 5. They sort of do the story like 3 games at a time. So when you jump into Gears 6, it's going to be a continuation of where you're at with the campaign.
Okay.
But I think you can kind of look up the backgrounds of Marcus and some of the other guys that will come into the story. So you don't necessarily need to start from the beginning. But to your point, the game, it's beautiful. I beat the Gears 5 campaign. I loved it so much. Now, I do have some tips for you in multiplayer. Shotguns first, always. Shotguns are very important. And just, you know, really, I've always found Gears to be so fun, even though, like, some people are like, oh my god, it's so bloody. Like, I'm like, yo, when they die and when you get that close contact shotgun one hit, that animation to me is so funny. I don't know what it is, but it's like this exploding body. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not really into gore and stuff, but I love it. So, you know, definitely, I think you'll love the campaign. It's very beautiful. They did an open world concept at some point. I don't know how far you are, so I don't want to spoil anything. But
I'm pretty early on.
Okay, yeah.
So you're one of the first people that I've actually had on Too Many Games who is really intricate within the esports scene. And esports has exploded. It's not nothing new. People think it's a new thing, but esports has been around for a long, long time. But like, it's, in terms of revenue in gaming, it's the biggest thing in revenue, and everyone's jumping on it, from like the Call of Duty League, Overwatch. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. I want a list of you of the top 3 esports games, all right? Top 3 esports games. It doesn't have to be in order. I just want a list of the top 3 esports games and why for each.
Okay, got you. So first and foremost, the one, if I don't name this one, I don't think I'm really serious about esports. I'm going to have to start off with League of Legends. Again, in no particular order. I think that Riot Games, just in general, like, you don't bet too often against Riot. Obviously, the game has been around for 10 years. You see the sponsorship dollars that are coming in. So obviously, the revenue is going to also be there. Probably have some sort of media rights deal coming along. ESPN Esports carried it, and things like that. So I definitely feel like League of Legends is top tier. If not the top in esports. And personally, I just love watching it as well.
Do you know what blows my mind?
What?
Only this year, I found that League wasn't a Japanese game. I
Really?
always thought it came from Japan, because it's so big in Japan.
Yes,
I always assumed it was a Japanese game, but it started in the States, then came to Europe, and it went to Japan. Had no recollection until I watched the documentary. Proper interesting.
Right. Yeah, I think I also am going to name Dota for similar reasons. I feel like Dota is one of those classic esports titles as well. So I'm going to include them, even though it's not nearly as popular. I feel like more people even like casually watch League of Legends. It's not a lot of casuals, I think, that watch Dota, but I would say that Dota has carried itself so well over these years. So I'm also going to include them. And I think the third one, just off the top of my head, I'm leaning toward, I'm between Call of Duty, honestly. I'm kind of leaning toward Call of Duty just because I think Activision is one of the few, when I think about professional like leagues, they've actually also included their amateur scene, which I feel like to an extent league hasn't really picked up enough.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's really important because obviously gaming is grassroots. Like we all started in ballrooms and hotels, even smaller than that, basements, things like that. And that's really how MLG, and even before that, like game battles, really picked up on Call of Duty. And I feel like the best pros, the biggest pros, thinking about Scump, C6, Formal, Karma, those guys, they have stayed relevant in so many titles. And I'm solely thinking about it really because of what they've done also to make sure they have always included their amateur scene and people who aren't considered professionals.
Yeah, I think what's good about COD as well is COD is probably the easiest to follow if you're like new to, because I've like, when I went to the Call of Duty League, one of the championship event, like the crowd that I saw wasn't what people say as a stereotypical gamer. Anyone's a gamer, but like it was just like a much more versatile crowd, and it's less work for the casters because if you think about something like Overwatch, like even me who understands Overwatch, when you watch the Overwatch leagues and these people are so fast, like I'm getting lost in what's happening. And if the casters are not great and the casters are not there, I would just get lost in it. Where COD, even without sound on, I get what's going on. It's easy enough to kind of just jump in. And like you said, even things like League and stuff, like if you don't know about League of Legends, you might watch this and be like, what is going on? Why is there all blue flashes on the screen and stuff like that?
That's a great point. And even some up and coming esports leagues that I feel like are going to be good, like Apex. I feel like Apex has really great potential, even though it's kind of slower. Because toward the beginning of the game, I don't know, when you dive in as bronze, like I'm just silver on ranked, like everybody's just going, like you just want to fight every single time. But like as you get into the higher ranks, I guess you can say, like they kind of slow down. So, but I think it's pretty easy enough to follow. So
yeah, definitely.
I think that one definitely has potential. But I mean, Fortnite's cool too, I guess. No,
I got one more question for you before I let you go. Take up too much of your time. You've been working in gaming for a while. You're a Twitch streamer, you're a YouTuber, but like I said, the one thing that really interests me about you is actually working within the scene, within esports. And what advice would you give to a young lady who's watching this or seeing you on Twitter or on Instagram, who's really like, I love Jourden, I love what she does, I'd love to be able to be like her? What advice would you give to someone who wants to start and kind of be able to follow that path, especially within actually getting into hosting esports and like you standing on stage and hosting for Gears of 5 and them things like that? What advice would you give to someone?
Yeah, my first piece of advice that I would definitely get is don't be intimidated. Just because you haven't been in certain communities for years and years, you're passionate. You can learn really learn as you go. Of course, study the community, study the scene, make sure you know the players, the key casters, everybody. But don't be afraid. Like, don't give in to imposter syndrome, really. I think a lot of times, for me, I'm always like, oh my gosh, well, I haven't been in the community that long. Like, I'm not a pro gamer or anything like that, but I want to get to know the people behind the sticks, literally. And to me, it's more than anything, it's about showcasing them. And like, once you remove yourself from that and realize that, you know what, it's not, the attention's not on you, it's on them. You can really give the best interviews possible. Really make sure you listen a lot. Listening is very important. I think it sounds easy, but really a lot of what I do is I listen to conversations as I'm getting ready for questions. I listen to the casters. What are they asking? What are they questioning? So I can incorporate that into my post-game interviews or future pre-game interviews or what have you. And then I think my third piece of advice is you can start practicing doing this really now. Like, you don't have to wait until you have some job or some opportunity. You can start your thing, but just do it. Don't be intimidated. Listen, learn, and always be a sponge, because there's always something that you can learn.
I love that. Just do it. Do it. Just like the Nike tick says on her Jourden trainers. Just do it. Jourden, thank you so much for joining me. I love how you're stunting in the Meg Thee Stallion crunchy roll top out here. I see you. I see you. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, Twitch, and on YouTube at Miss Jordy, MISSJOURDY. Check me out on my social media channels, and I will appreciate a follow. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Too Many Games. I hope you lot all enjoyed it. I want to know from you, what is your favorite esports game? Let us know in the comments below. I've been Mr. Midas. She's been Jourden. You've been amazing. And we are out. Peace.